Hello everyone, welcome to The Hype, where minds collide and ideas amplify. I'm your host, Susie Gan, and today we're going to talk about the historical silver medal that the Chinese women's field hockey team won at the Paris Summer Olympics. And joining us today are the head coach of the Chinese women's team, Alyson Annan, and our very own Peter Oliver joining us from Paris. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Thank you.
So why don't you guys give us a bit of introduction about yourselves? Alyson, why don't you go first?
Alyson Annan. I've born in Australia, live in Holland, coach in China. Used to play hockey for Australia. Competed in 2 Olympics as a player. Have now completed 3 Olympics as a player, 2 gold medals, and now 4 Olympics as a coach or in coaching staff. And in all 4 Olympics, we've been able to medal. And this one, China, winning the silver medal, has just been fantastic. It's at this point the highlight of my coaching career.
Awesome. And Peter?
Nothing as exciting as any of that. I'm CGTN Berlin-based correspondent. I've been the luckiest lad from Sunderland ever. I've been able to be here for the games. Followed the hockey girls throughout their campaign, and we spoke to Alyson earlier in the campaign, just after their group stage victory against France. And I asked her if she was having a nice time at the games, and she told me a nice time. I think, Alyson, your exact words were, "I eat, sleep, breathe how to get these girls to a quarter-final, semi-final, and final." And you did just that. So congratulations to you for it. I did have a little question about getting through all of that stuff, though, Alyson. You'll have come to these Olympics with a plan set up to play in a certain way, and a couple of defeats earlier on. How does it impact you as a coach and how you express what you want for the team when you've had those early upsets? Do you start thinking, oh, if I change this, I change that, I change the other? Or do you just think, look, I came here with a plan, I stick to the plan?
Well, we didn't see the losses in the pool games as upsets. We actually knew that they were number 1, 3, and 4 in the world. We came in at number 8, so we knew that the pool would be very difficult. We knew that we had to win against Japan and France to make the quarterfinals. We knew that we would probably finish 3rd or 4th in our pool, which meant we knew that we would play Argentina or Australia. We set our money more on Australia than Argentina, and that happened. We went to Australia we trained in Australia for almost 2 months to prepare for this. So it kind of all went according to our plans. So when you don't see it as an upset, but you see it as part of your plan, nothing changes. And we were very confident in the way that we played. The games that we lost, just statistically, we were better than every other team. We needed to just to find a few things, but we were very confident in our game, and that didn't change throughout the whole tournament.
And Alyson, you mentioned being confident. I think confidence is very, very important to the girls because I felt like they got better and better throughout each game. And how do you help the team to actually get more confidence? Because I felt like we were very, very, very impressive, into the quarterfinal, semifinal, and we were absolutely stunning in the final. So how do you help them, become more confident throughout the games?
Confidence comes from knowledge as well. And they gained a lot of knowledge throughout the last 2 years of their own performance, of their own strengths. They really believed and knew what their own strengths were. We knew what our strengths were as our team. That gives confidence. Winning games in the last 2 years gives confidence. And it was a bit of a change in mindset to the players of we constantly told them what they were good at and where they were good in. And instead of criticizing and telling them what they did wrong, we exemplified, this is what you're good at, do that individually and as a team. And when that they kind of started to understand what that meant,
Mm-hmm.
and they did that more often. They gained more individual successes, even in training. They gained more confidence, and they really
Right.
believed in our process. They believed in us as a coaching staff,
Mm-hmm.
and that also helps.
Right.
So it's a combination of a lot of things, but the biggest thing for me that gave them confidence is that they gained so much more knowledge of their own game and individually and as a team, uh, that that they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
They, tactically they were very sound.
Mm-hmm. So you didn't have to give them a very big prep talk, like after the preliminary round. Like I was
No,
no,
no.
okay, cool. That's very cool. And speaking of knowledge, I think last time we met, you talked about like they were doing their own analysis on their own computers.
Yes.
That's
Well,
very
look,
cool. Do you want to talk about
oh,
that?
look, that was one of the very biggest changes that we made. That when I came into the team, they were watching their games back on an iPad
Oh yeah.
from an
Yeah.
online stream, and of course we had our analyst who was doing some work with them. But that's different being given information than gaining it yourself.
Yeah.
So when I came in, one of the major things that we wanted to change is that they had to have autonomy over their own knowledge. We started with two team computers. We had players buying their own computers, and we had Fulcrum who provided us with an analysis system, Angles, that they all had on those computers. So in the end, I think we had 12 computers in the team of 16, of which 10 were their own. And after every game, they would come and they would get footage, and they would analyze their own footage. They'd analyze. We gave them the individual analysis coding sheets that they could analyze their own game individually, team, and that's such an increase in knowledge.
Yeah.
We also, one of the other things we did for confidence is we taught them to swim. In
Oh, yeah.
Australia, we took swimming lessons. Australia last year,
How does
Australia
that
this
help?
year. Well, it's tremendous. If you're afraid of swimming and you can't swim, and in 2 years you've learnt to swim and you can jump in the deep end of a pool and swim. There's the quote, jump in the deep end. That's all to do with confidence and sharing that with each other. Diving into the deep end of a pool and being told by your coach, "It's okay, I've got you."
Right.
That's huge for us, coaching staff, to the players, that they've got confidence to jump in the deep end and know that we've got their back. Those small things amount to a lot of confidence within the players.
Right.
Helping each other in the pool was amazing. So it's not just about what you see on analysis. It's not
Right.
just what you see on the hockey field. There's been a lot of things that have happened behind the scenes to give them more confidence.
Right. Do you mean
Now we spoke. Sorry, just to jump in there. We
yeah, sure.
spoke with three of you girls after that France game, and one of the things that comes away is that there was that unity, that tightness in the group there, and I can see why now you're explaining that you were chucking them in swimming pools and getting them to learn to swim, and that must foster such a unity, a bond in the group. If you've done something that's like, let's face it, like that is like can be life defining for people. But just a little bit on the tightness, but also back to the analysis, because I'm kind of impressed that you had them doing their own analysis on themselves. What type of things do they take away from? What type of things did they find out about themselves when they started looking and taking that autonomy over looking at their own stats and their own analysis?
Well, you find patterns, things that work, things that don't work. If you consistently do one thing that works, it gives you insight into your strengths. If you consistently do the same thing that doesn't work, it helps you create change. So those are the two biggest things I think that they learned. They learned a lot about the opposition as well, of course. This works against this team. This doesn't work against that team. So look, there's so much that you can learn from watching your own footage. They didn't like it in the beginning because they didn't like seeing themselves on the screen. Heads down. Don't be afraid to see yourself fail.
Yeah.
I really believe that failure is part of growth. You have to fail to grow, because when you fail, it's only learning, and you've learned a way that doesn't work, so you create change through that.
Right.
So it gave them insights into a whole lot of different things. Our goalkeeper did her homework on the opposition with shootouts and corners, and our corner defence. You look in detail. Is it one step to the right? Is it one step to the left? To stop the opposition scoring. There's a lot of detail that goes into watching your own footage, and where I still think that we can be better at watching our own footage. I think that we can be more consistent with it. So we've made a lot of progress, but I truly believe that the next phase is it becoming really part of your being, is watching yourself and analyzing your own game to improve.
Right. So they did it again at the Olympics this time, that they were watching the replay themselves after each game.
Absolutely.
Oh.
They did it, and we did it. And even in our halftime talks,
Yeah.
we gave them autonomy. So they, after in each game, and we started that about a year ago, they got into their lines, so their defensive line, midfield line, attacking line, and at halftime they would get 3 to 4 minutes to discuss what they think needed improving or what they did well. The team talk at halftime started with them, and we, of course, as coaches, in the 3-4 minutes, also did our analysis.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with them, and we would just cross off what they had already, what we had, so the similarities, and we would finish with anything extra.
Right.
That gives them autonomy, that gives them confidence, that heightens their ability to analyze.
Right.
And more often than not, they got it right.
So how do they see their own performance this time? Like each game, the one with Australia, then against Belgium, then did you guys sit down and talk about the final like after the final, or did you guys just celebrate and this is the one game that we don't have to talk about, we just go home and celebrate? But how do they see themselves play against Belgium and previously Australia?
So we against Australia, I think we did well. I think we dominated. I think we gave away too many corners at the end of the game that we could have improved on. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things coming out of the Australian game is that we didn't transition fast enough. Mm-hmm. So we talked about that. We talked about that to a few individual players as well, who needed to transition faster from attack to defence and defence to attack. That was probably one of the biggest things coming out of the game against Australia. And we needed to be more clinical in our circles. I think that against Australia, we got the ball into the circle a number of times, but didn't get what we would say upgrade. And upgrade is to upgrade it to something better than just a ball on the stick in the circle. Right. Against Belgium, statistically, before the game, we knew that it would be tight. We had, from the last 10 games against Belgium, we were equal in circles, equal in shots on goal, equal in corners. So we knew that it would come down to possibly a shootout, which we trained, every training for the last year and a half. So we knew that would be tight. And, against the Dutch, we don't analyse the final until the next time we get together.
Mm-hmm. So how do you feel about the penalty? Like, we had 2 penalty shootouts twice in a row. Like we had it in the semifinal and then again in the final. Like, how did it feel about having to go into the shootouts both times? Did you prepare for this?
Well, of course we prepared for the shootouts. We did it every training. We knew which players had the most success rate through in the shootout. So we filmed every training.
Yeah.
So we didn't just film games. We filmed trainings to be able to look back at footage from training, and statistically know who was the best shootout taker. So we were pretty confident in the shootouts. Rarely do you win 2 shootouts in Olympic Games. So that was, okay, unfortunate. But it takes a lot of courage to stand up an Olympic semi-final and final and take a shootout. So we prepared for it, but unfortunately in the final we weren't good enough.
Well,
You've spoken about the autonomy. Sorry, Susie, I just want to get in there a wee bit.
I just wanted to say that we were good enough.
You've spoken about the autonomy that the players, that you've tried to instill in the players, that they take responsibility for themselves and for their play. When it comes to the penalty shootout, is that the moment as the coach your hands are off the wheel and it's all in their hands there? There's nothing you can do. What does that feel like from your point of view? And to go through it twice there, was it the agony and the ecstasy, really?
Yeah, look, in the final, I just really had such a great hope that we would win, because I think that these players deserved it. I think in the game, we should have won it. There was a number of decisions in the last 4 minutes that should have gone our way, didn't, that ended up giving them the opportunity to score. The corner that they scored from was not a corner, which would have meant, and I truly believe that if the umpire had done the right thing and taken her own referral, we would have won the game, because they wouldn't have had the corner. I really truly believe that. So I was kind of disappointed about that, almost angry at the time.
Yeah.
So I really hoped that the players, we would have won, because I think we deserved to win. I think we played an outstanding final.
Totally.
So there was more hope than anything, because it isn't, it's a cruel way to win or lose a game.
Well, we're talking about the final, so I wanted to ask, you guys Team China led for so much of that game, to be pegged back at the end in dubious circumstances, as you've said, and then to lose it on a penalty shootout. Where does that line between this being heartbreaking, which it obviously must be at the moment, and character building, looking forward to the next time? I've interviewed a number of Olympians while I've been here. Reece McClenaghan of Ireland comes to mind, the gymnast who fell in Tokyo from the pommel horse. He came back this time and put in a unparalleled performance and won the gold. And when you ask him, he says it was that fall sets you up for thinking, don't do that again, Reece, was in his tight sense. But it sets you up for thinking, I've tasted the agony of this now. It now sets me up for going forward. Is there a similar thing with yourselves? Like when you said you will analyze the final when you next meet up, but are you going to be telling them next time, you know what the worst it can be, how bad it can be, and how bad is it? How you're all still here. How do we go on from here next? And I just wanted to understand what it's like behind the scenes from this.
Well, one thing, it's not agony. We have done exceptionally well.
Absolutely.
I don't think any person in the world of hockey would have thought that China would have made the final, let alone be 1-0 ahead with 4 minutes to go against the number 1 team in the world, being number 6, number 8 coming into the competition, and 16, 18 months ago being number 14 in the world. The Dutch came in thinking that they would win every game with a 5-goal difference. So we don't feel absolutely any agony at all. We can only feel proud about our performance. We can know that we were very close, but we weren't sad at all. We realized that we did an exceptional tournament. We played an exceptional final. What this does give us is more confidence and knowledge that we are capable of doing this, and we are capable of being as good as we were in the final. We've also given the world of hockey the knowledge that China is a great team.
Yeah.
And a lot of people now acknowledge China as a hockey force, and that's amazing.
Right, and the credit goes to you largely, Alyson, because you took over since only 2 years ago. And within 2 years of time, you've brought us from world number 10, I think, perhaps back at the time, to now into the Olympic final. And this is a huge progress. So what is the formula, I guess, what is the secret formula, for you as a coach that you can take a team from like a relatively lower place compared to the other finalists in the game to this place right here?
So there's a world FIH ranking system, and
Right.
we were, when we started, number 14, I think, at like 1,600 points. Holland are at 3,500 points. I think we ended this tournament with 2,600, 2,800 points. So we started at number 14, finished at number 6. That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
What we did, and it's a we, it's not just a me, it's a we. The players, you can have a team and do exactly what we did, but you have to have players that are willing to make change.
Right.
I think the biggest thing that we did was we changed our training methods. So we combined, it may sound weird, but we trained less but more effectively.
Right.
It's a cultural thing to train a lot in China. But what we did is we created time to analyze. We analyze is part of training. But if you train 3 times a day, you sleep the rest of the time. You have no time for analysis. So we had a pretty similar program throughout the week where we would train. We would go to the gym twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, depending on the phase in which we were in. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And if we went to the gym twice a week, it would be Monday, Wednesday. We would train hockey twice, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, then 1 hockey session. Saturday, we would consistently play a game, and Sunday, they would have time to recover. That was our program pretty much throughout the whole time. We had different levels of training, so we would have a low grade training, which meant that our the load of the training was low.
Right.
We would have high load trainings where we would have Olympic load. So we were getting the physical ability, the physical necessities in the training, without having to run extra outside of the hockey field. So we did a lot of running in the training with stick and ball, which meant we played a lot of hockey. So we got fit playing hockey. We didn't get fit running circles.
Right.
They learned. We increased the speed at which we were playing, which meant we increased the high speed running in the game with stick and ball.
Yeah.
When you do that, then you can have a high speed of play.
Right.
Those changes really assisted in our game, because you can run fast without a stick and ball, but you've got to be able to control the ball when you're running fast.
Right. 'Cause I wanted to say that they looked really, really fit in the last 2 games of the tournament. They don't look tired at all.
We tested the players before the tournament.
Yeah.
And of course, I had comparisons with the Dutch team because I trained them 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And all of our numbers were higher than the Dutch team 4 years ago. We used that as a measure.
Right.
And all of our numbers, and that's a credit to the players, were the best they could have been entering the tournament. We couldn't have asked for a better physical status before entering the Olympic Games on all levels. So I think our program worked out exactly how it should have been.
Right. So what qualities do you think that the Chinese players possess to get themselves there? Because credit goes to you, but credit also goes to the players. So what are the qualities that you appreciate the most about the Chinese players, having been here for 2 years already?
Their ability to take on information
Mm-hmm.
and implement that information straight away
Right.
is just amazing. I mean, I've coached a lot of teams. I've never had a collective group of players who are able to take on information and implement that
Mm-hmm.
straight away. You know, normally in a lot of the teams that I've coached, they forget it. They just choose not to do it. This Chinese team, from all of the players that I've had in the last 2 years, because the players that we had at the Olympic Games, we've only really had since November last year.
Mm-hmm.
Previous to that, we had a lot of different players coming in and out of the program
Right.
to see who would, to really to be able to choose who we thought the best players were to win this medal.
Right.
But all of the players that we've had in the system, I think we've had over 50 players in the system in the last 2 years, had this ability and had this capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And some could do it better than others.
Right.
But the ability to take on information, implement it, and use the feedback that we gave was just amazing.
Right.
It's almost unique to a group of players.
Mm-hmm.
They also all wanted it enough to realize that change was necessary.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things I'm proud of with this whole process is that we didn't. My true belief when I took this job was to be part of the Chinese culture,
Mm-hmm.
and not change the Chinese culture.
Right.
So I learnt how to combine the Chinese culture and use that as a strength, and not come in and try and change it within Australian culture.
Mm-hmm.
And that gains a lot of respect from the players. You are who you are, and let's use that as our strength.
Yeah. So how do you see the Chinese culture now?
Well, it's unique. It's special. I think it's special. I think it's the collectiveness. Peter talked about the collectiveness that comes from the culture.
Mm-hmm.
That comes from. I truly believe that these players care for each other.
Right.
And that's also part of the Chinese culture. Is you have to be caring for each other. You have to everyone has to be okay. Shared responsibilities. Shared. That's so much part of the Chinese culture.
Mm-hmm.
And the respect that they have for each other, the opposition, is incredible. And that's also part of, I think, the Chinese culture is the respect they have for each other. So those things have been an amazing part of this process.
Right. So how do you see the future plans for the Chinese team? Because this time around, we've proved ourselves to be good enough. Like, we're in the final. And I know some of the players are approaching their late 20s, almost 30, I would say, in terms of their age. So how do you see that we continue to build the depth of the team in the future for LA 2028?
Like I said, we used about 50 players in our program.
Yeah.
A lot of those players were young. There are players that didn't make this team that could have made this team.
Mm-hmm.
And I really
so you're not
hope
worried
that
about the depth of the team?
We've got a huge depth.
Oh, okay.
China don't have. Yeah, I mean, China have an exceptional depth. There's not a lot of players, and I hope after the Olympic Games that the number of people who want to play hockey will increase. I really hope that. I think that the more people we can get playing hockey,
right.
the bigger the depth, the bigger the future,
right.
The longer we can stay at the top. I really hope that. I really hope that this brings change to hockey in China. We need the depth. We need the longevity of the depth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest difference between why Holland now have been number one for a long time.
Yeah.
Is because they have 200,000 people playing the game.
Right.
In China, I think we have 2,000.
We have.
So let's increase that.
2,000, that was from years ago. I think the most updated number was like 6,000-ish players, teenagers registered.
Perfect.
Yes.
So let's get that 6,000 to 600,000.
Right.
And let's really. I mean, that will give us depth, that will give us longevity, and that I think that this could be the start of something really great.
Yeah, because
I think you might be onto something there. Sorry, Susie, but because one of the things that definitely taking away is somebody who I follow a lot of sport, but I don't watch hockey exclusively as a week in, week out. It's usually an Olympic event for me that I'll watch it. But you certainly set up a team that looked like they were enjoying it, and as somebody who likes to be as involved in youth sport as possible, if kids see something that looks like it's fun, they're going to want to do it. And that's certainly the way you've got that Chinese team playing. It looks like it's fun to be part of that Chinese team that you've got there, Alyson. And that's, I don't know if you agree that that's what draws people in, because at the end of the day, it's a game, it's a sport, and sport should be fun for people to get into it. I know it gets serious at the levels that you're operating at, but that grassroots has to start off as fun.
Well, yeah, that's one of the biggest things that also you have to enjoy what you're doing. And, that's one of the things that I really, I enjoy what I'm doing, and I want my players to enjoy that as well. We brought music onto the field with our players. I would dance before a training just to try to loosen players up to,
you would dance?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sometimes a bit of a silly coach that does those sorts of things, but you got to enjoy what you do.
What type of dancing are you doing, Alyson?
I'm not very good at it, so I'm not like running around dancing. I'm just we brought music onto the field to just open the players up. You gotta be open, and you got to be. Once you're open, we can do anything, and have them smile.
Right. And I think
it's serious what we're doing, but it doesn't mean that your whole being has to be stiff and yeah.
To give you a freedom to express yourself more on the field.
Yes.
And I think one of the other things that's going to definitely get more kids to play is the fact that our team captain, Ou Zixia, is selected as one of China's flag bearers at the closing ceremony, together with another player from China. He's a weightlifter. Yeah, this has never happened before to us. Like, the hockey team has never had a player carrying the flag for China at either, I don't know, the opening or closing ceremony of the Olympics.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing, and I'm so proud of the players, and I'm so very honored that the Chinese Olympic Committee have chosen our captain to be a flag bearer. I think it's deserving.
Right.
But I mean, there's a lot of gold medal winners from China, and they've chosen to choose our captain to carry the flag. I just think it's amazing, and I thank them dearly, because it's just. It's almost I'm gobsmacked. I think it's just wonderful.
Yeah. And how would you comment on Ou Zixia's performance? We call her Ober in the team. And how do you see her performance this time?
Oh, look, as Ober, as every other player, I think it's been wonderful. I think every single player has been the best that they can be. And when we entered this tournament, and each game, all we asked, be the best you can be today. And I think that every single player did that. I think that Ober was fantastic, as every other player in our team. She's an exceptional captain. She led the team well. It's one huge collective performance. But she'll carry the flag and honor our team. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's a huge recognition, I would say, to the entire hockey community in China.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see her do it. It's just great. I'm proud of the silver medal, but this is just the next level proud.
Right. And go ahead, Peter.
Oh, sorry, but before we, because I was wanting to try and ask a bit more about where we go in the future with Team China. But before we do that, I did want to go back to the semi-final against Belgium. And, you know, there's a lot of articles in the English language media in particular about the incident at the final hooter with Ou Zixia and Delphine Dappen-Marin of Belgium. The ball was hit. It did hit the Belgian player. There was a bit of a set-to between the two players. Is that all it was? Is that it? Because it seems to be there are attempts to try and blow that way out of proportion, as far as I see it in some articles I've read.
Look, when she got the ball, there was 14 seconds on the clock. It was 1-1. She got the free hit. She tried to take it quickly. She mishit the ball. The player was running away from the ball. It hit the player. There's absolutely no intent in it at all. This is a 20-year-old girl playing her first major tournament, trying to do what we've asked her to do in the last 10 seconds. She didn't hear the clock. There was a lot of noise. She didn't. I mean, it's been blown definitely out of proportion. This is it's unfortunate that it hit the player, but she was trying to hit the ball into the circle. I mean, it's social media can be a bit negative.
Yeah, exactly.
I think exactly.
Things,
so.
Do you think in the manner in which it had been blown out of proportion in some way reflects well on Team China, because it has they only come after you if you're worth coming after, and I think Team China has surprised so many people in this hockey tournament that when there is an opportunity to have a little dig there, it has been jumped on. And as you say, I mean, look, when you watch it in slow motion and you watch it from this angle and that angle, you can make anything say anything. You watch that in real time, it's something that happens in any game. It's something that happens in a game when they don't hear it. Is that partly because Team China, I think, have upset a few people, not upset in terms, but surprised a few people with how well they've done?
To be honest, I think that anytime China in any sport does well, there's always going to be people who are negative about China as a country. It's not just specific to our team. I mean, if you look at everything that's gone on, China have performed exceptionally well. There are always going to be countries who are negative about China. There's a disbelief that China can be good in sport. It always has to be something else. That's just not true. And I think that China, this has only been their 12th Olympic Games that China has participated, if I'm right, and are doing exceptionally well, whilst we're competing against other countries that have competed since 1908. Of course, people are going to be negative about anything that China does. So don't blow things out of proportion, except that, this is a 20-year-old girl. Do your homework. It's a 20-year-old girl who is playing her first major tournament and hasn't played any other major tournament before this. It's exciting. There's 15,000 people yelling and screaming, doesn't hear the whistle. Last time she had the ball, there was 10 seconds on the clock or 14 seconds. She's just doing what she's been asked to do and get the ball into the circle. Let's not make it bigger than it is.
You mentioned the success, and it's a success that they'll be looking to build on heading into LA. I heard your press conference the other day when you were asked what's the aim for LA, and you said gold. I wouldn't have expected anything different from you. Mm-hmm. Good stuff. But how many of the current crop do you expect to move through? Of your players to move through to 2028, and what does the time between now and then look like in terms of how you prepare a full Olympic cycle? You only had 2 years between coming into this games, right? So you've got the full 4 years now. Do you have that planned out already, or are you like, come on, Peter, give us a bit of time to have a day off?
Yeah, the last bit, it's been 2 days. I've just arrived home. Last night I had the first, I think I slept for 8 hours, 7 hours. It's the first time I've slept longer than 4.5 hours in the last 3 weeks. So just I'll have a look at that when I've just had a bit more of a break.
But you must have an idea of what comes this tournament to that tournament to that tournament ahead of those Olympics, of looking at how you want to develop things. You have that in your head already, yeah?
Well, I know which tournaments are coming. Yes, of course.
Well, you know which tournaments are coming.
That's
Right.
that's standard in our sport. So we know which tournaments will be coming. But I haven't looked in depth at those yet. This has been a big task. It's taken a lot of work to get to the players to where they are. So I haven't looked further than the Olympic Games yet.
Absolutely.
But you're looking at the Pro League, right? Because I feel like the Pro League definitely helped us prepare for this Olympics.
Yes, absolutely. The Pro League's been an essential part for us.
Yeah.
I mean, with China not having a full club competition, it was essential that we play the Pro League. It was also essential that we played outside of China.
Right.
I really hope with this success, we'll have more people, more teams wanting to visit China to play against us in China. I think that'd be great for our sport. Hopefully those sorts of things will be able to take place in the future.
Yeah. So do you think it's possible that we have more friendlies to host in the future, that we host in the future? We invite other teams to come play. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that definitely helps.
And with having this success helps. People will want to play against us.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Being number 14 in the world, not many people want to play against a team who's number 14 in the world, but they do want to play against a team who's number 6 in the world and play in an Olympic final.
I think I'm pushing my luck with everything I keep going into. So I think I've asked just about everything I had in my little book of questions. I'm pleased to hear you're talking about extending the contract. I will not go into that too more, but good luck with that one. I think they would be daft if they didn't sort that for you. Right, I am going to ask my question now that I wanted to ask. I asked you this before, Alyson. It was during the games. I asked you if you had any chance to enjoy the games, and you said you were all strictly business. What will be your takeaway from these Paris games? I know you spent your whole time focused on getting that team to the final. You only just arrived back. What will you take away compared to the other Olympics that you've competed at as an athlete and a coach? How will Paris stack up?
I've always been proud of the performance of the teams that I've coached. And I've always been proud of the team that I've been in as a player. But this Olympics, it's been the journey in this coaching this team's not just been with me and the players. It's been with my family, who have had to endure quite a lot of absence. My absence. It's been more than just me and the players that have been on this journey. And, the number of people, even from Holland, Australia, Argentina, Europe, who are now supporters of Chinese hockey, that's huge. And that's the biggest takeaway here, that we have a lot of people that were hoping that China would win. And that's a good thing. That's a good takeaway.
Yeah, that's genuinely one of the
best things. Can't say fairer than that.
Yeah, thank you to you both. I think we're gonna.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, really thank you so much for joining us and following the team, Peter. Like during the games, like I think you caught them in the Athletes Village, like during the games.
Literally outside of the stadium. They were waiting to get on the bus, and our wonderful producer Yuan went and dragged the ladies all the way and brought them to speak to me. Thank you very much for your time, taking time out after that match, and thanks for speaking to us again now, Alyson, and all the best to the team when you see them.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks, Susie.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter, for joining us, and thank you, Alyson, for coaching us, leading us into, I would say, historical final. Historical in the sense, but people keep saying that this is the first time in 16 years that the Chinese team has done it again. But this is truly historical for this particular group of players, because they are a different group of players than than the group of players from 16 years ago in Beijing 2008 when they won a historical silver. And for us, I think it's still a silver this time, but this is historical for us, this particular group of people, and for you as well, I would say. And thank you
Historical
so much.
also because it was outside of China. It's
Yes.
in another country with 15,000 people supporting the Dutch, and I think we had about 100 people in the stands with Chinese shirts and flags. So you know, that makes it even bigger for the girls.
Yeah, but we could see them, we could hear them, and we definitely deserved everything that we have won. And thank you so much for coaching us, guiding us, leading us there, and thank you for joining us on this show today. And thank you, Peter, for joining us as well. We're going to wrap up this show, and thank you both.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.